And with me today, I have Marie Cruz, who is a certified health and wellness coach, a retreat facilitator, and best-selling author of Even When She Rose. For over 15 years, she's helped women to heal, grow, and rediscover their inner strength through her signature process, the Nautilus Way, Write Your Way Free. It's a journaling-based method designed to integrate grief, to release trauma, and to rewire limiting beliefs. Marie's journey is one of profound resilience and reinvention. Raised in rural Louisiana and a single mother by her early 20s, she turned pain into purpose, transforming her own healing into a mission to guide others. When she tragically lost her son in 2017, just 2 years after her mother's passing, journaling became not just her tool for survival, but a path to peace. Today, Marie leads transformational women's retreats from her Gulf-front home in Florida, where she helps women find clarity, confidence, and connection through writing and community. Her work is grounded in compassion, courage, and the belief that healing isn't about moving on, it's about rising again, even when it hurts. So, welcome to the show. It's such an honor to have you here, Marie. Your bio is just like it's just one on resilience. I just think it's absolutely profound the journey that you've been on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm pretty excited to have the conversation, even though it's heavy,
Yeah,
because I don't think we have the comfort level in our society to just talk about the hard things,
it's true. Yeah.
because we're none of us are going to get out of here without going through some really hard things. So I think the more we bring it to the table, the more we show that you can rise, show that you can. Anyhow, I just want to thank you for having me and for letting me be part of this conversation with you.
Oh, thank you so much, Marie. And it'll be great for you to share in your own words, your own journey, because your story is one of incredible strength, from single motherhood to surviving profound loss. What inspired you to turn your healing journey into a mission to help others?
Ooh, I don't know that anybody's asked me that. What inspired me to turn it? I will say survival.
Mm,
Uh, uh, Wiring, I'm wired to teach and coach. I had been coaching in the health and wellness field for many years before going through these two losses. And I think it was just a natural progression for me to take my pain and to find a way through it and then to walk others through theirs. So I don't know. I guess I'm kind of just wired for it.
that's beautiful. Wow, amazing. So tell us about your journey. So what happened, when you were in your 20s when you became a mom. So
I was almost 19 when I had my first baby. Yeah. And I did that. I married young and I did that on purpose. Looking back and my novel has a lot of this, but I was just trying to recreate the life I didn't have, absent father, mother raised four kids on her own, no help at all. I mean, no help from dad, right? Lots of help from a big Cajun family out over where we were from. But yeah, so anyhow, now I know I was recreating or trying to create the family life that I didn't have, but you don't know that when you're doing it, right? And unfortunately, my ex-husband really suffered a lot, mental illness, addiction, and those kinds of things.
mm,
And we were together for a long, long time. And then we divorced when I was 30. And so I became single mom at 30 and also with no help. And so, yeah, that just changed everything because it was me depending solely on me. And so nothing quite like that I believe, to push me to heal. And one of the good things that happened in my 20s was because my husband was an addict, but he was seeking recovery through my 20s. I ended up in a lot of therapy, a lot of group therapy, Al-Anon, which is for families of alcoholics and addicts. And so that really started my healing journey, my awakening journey, my how did I get in this situation? What happened? Because somewhere along the line, I don't think I subscribed to just picking wrong.
Mm.
I thought I picked well, and for a while it was really good. So I went on this journey to figure out like how did I end up here and how do I not end up here again? And
Yeah.
what do I need to do to provide a better foundation for my children so they don't repeat patterns, and they can, just be more whole, I suppose. That
Yeah.
was the goal.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you've also said that journaling became the anchor of your healing. Can you actually share how writing has helped you to process grief and transform pain into purpose?
Sure. So I am a fan of traditional therapy. It has helped me a lot. Also, all the modules. I'm a fan of anything that turns you inward to look at your patterns and your thoughts and beliefs and that kind of thing. So, what journaling did for me, at some point, my therapist said, "Marie, your journaling has become your meditation." It was where I met myself and I would say practiced the things that I was learning about myself in therapy. I would go over them, instead of like seeing my therapist and then releasing everything and then you just see them again. I was going back through things in my journal, and much like meditation, it is also where I began to hear from my higher self, God, the divine. Depending on what time in my life, I had different verbiage for it. So I definitely was receiving similar to what some people do in prayer or meditation, like here, I was receiving in journaling. And so that's transformative. I mean, it I say all the time, you can know things about yourself, about where you want to go or what you need to heal or what you need to rewire, but journaling for me became the practice. I literally talked myself into the next phase of growth or healing or expansion, or again, whatever term we want to call it, because it means different things to different people. So that's what journaling did, for me. And it wasn't like I set out to do that through journaling. It just became a safe space for me.
Beautiful, thank you. And so your whole journaling process, which is the Nautilus Way, it's helped a lot of women. Can you actually walk us through the 4 steps, which is the reveal, the review, the rewrite, and the rewire?
Sure. I like to start first just with how it came about. So I was journaling on my own, doing my own thing, and I understood that my journaling was accelerating my healing just for myself, right? But I wasn't like, let me go teach people how to do this. Until I always had kind of a passion to run retreats, and I was leading teams of women, a national company that I was with, and on mindset and business coaching and all. And so I lost my son in late 17, and started writing my novel about 7 months later, which ended up being a huge part of my healing and cathartic process, right, for myself. But in there, I decided to put journal entries. And it was almost like I saw for the first time, the main character is me in the book, obviously, not obviously, but it's a fiction about my life. But I saw in the journals how it was like I could see it from the outside. So then I started, so it's just like, oh, I don't know. It's like I was just doing it before, and then I saw what I was doing from a 1,000-mile view, if you will. So in 2019, I started to run women's empowerment retreats. And at the retreats, I wanted to teach the journaling process, but I didn't even know it was a process. I just thought it was teach journaling, have them journal, but it wasn't sticking. And so a few years passed, and then it became like, oh, what do I do to get them to get it like I get it, like what it does for me. And so I had a small gathering and on a little in a cabin in Mississippi here in the US. These these steps just came. It was kind of interesting, and because I didn't know it was a process, I just knew I wanted them to get the whole uh, uh, medicine of it, or whatever. I'm looking for words. So anyway, so you start with the reveal, which is, it's just kind of a brain dump, if you know anything about stream of consciousness journaling. um, you start with that. And so it's just opening, I say it's like opening a portal to your soul, your higher self, to God, whatever, and saying what's here. Because often what gets revealed is not the thing usually that you think you're missing or you don't know. It's kind of interesting. It's like opening it up and saying, what's here? What do I need to look at next? And it could be a scenario or whatever. And then the review is, we're going back over that piece, and we're looking for where pain points are, what needs attention. Meaning, where are you not loving yourself? Where are you withholding um, or not seeing something clearly in its full truth? Because I believe, the truth will set you free, but only if you have the whole truth. And that has a nuance to it. A lot of times we think we have the whole truth, but if we really investigate, there's more. There's always more. After working with all these women now, I'm like, there's always more. So the review is going through and looking what needs attention, whether you're upset with yourself or someone else. And then the rewrite is where we allow, there's a process to it, and there are steps, because often we, especially as women, we don't know how to love ourselves. Like, we don't know how to give ourselves grace and compassion and credit for the million things we do in our lifetime, right? And so the rewrite is all about that. It's the healing, I have found and believe, is in the showing up for yourself. And that's hard to do at first. So I have a specific way of teaching that, so we can bridge from, you don't give yourself any credit, to being able to really see yourself in your fullness and give yourself what you need instead of seeking it outside. And then the rewire is the practicing of the rewrite. It's the multiple ways that can happen in community, working with someone in retreats, whatever. And then also, it's like you have this thing now that you can read to yourself. You can remind yourself of who you are. And that process can take someone through anything, including huge devastation and trauma. And I mean, it was part of my healing path through my PTSD, of finding both my mom and my son, and just the trauma of the losses. But yeah, so that's the journaling process. And I gotta say, it's just, I'm still shocked, like, that really came through me. Like, it's still, I don't know, I give myself the credit for it, but it's almost like it's me, but it's not me, like I'm just the conduit to bring it.
Oh, beautiful that, yeah. And so how do you feel like writing actually helps us to uncover any hidden beliefs or patterns that we may not even realize are running through our lives?
Uh, well, because the mind is so busy, right? We have, I don't know, they say so many hundreds of however many thoughts. I need to look that number up so I'll sound a little smarter. But so many, lots of thoughts a day. And sorry. We don't we it's almost like, it's like trying to capture you can't. And I believe when you sit and you show up for yourself, that whatever it is you believe in, so I'm going to just say my higher self is available to reveal to me what it is in this moment that's keeping me spinning or stuck. I call it, in Al-Anon, we used to call it the squirrel cage, just going. And it's almost like being able to unravel the next thing. And many things can show up at one time, but it's like what jumps out at you. And I actually teach my clients, because I work one-on-one and small groups and all that, not just at retreats, but I teach them like what shows up, what jumps out at you is the next thing. It
Mm.
is the next thing that's going to get you, because a lot of times they show up and they'll say that's not what I came here to work on. And I'm like, okay, well, your higher self had a different idea of what you need to work on next, but I can assure you that that's going to get you over to the thing that you feel like is your biggest pain point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, that's brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And so, yeah, you often say that resilience isn't about willpower, but it's more about connection. So can you expand on that?
Um, yeah, I think I think willpower is so overrated
Yeah.
because it's coming from a place of what's the word? Like push. I did that for survival most of my life. But connection, and when I'm talking about connection, it's connecting to yourself like that. When we connect to ourselves, and I believe we connect to ourselves through other people, by the way, right, through their mirroring us a little bit, but connecting to myself is where I find the strength or the willingness or the even the desire. Like what is it that I most want in the world? What do I most want to release? What do I most want to heal from? What do I most want to create? What is it that through journaling, and again, I don't say journaling is the only way, it's just the way that I've used and has been my catalyst, but what is the way that you could connect to your deepest truth, because then you're going to set yourself free. And I think one of the things people think often is they're looking for that on the outside. If we get the right partner, if we have the right best friend, if we have the perfect job, if we whatever. And I believe that we we have all the answers that we need for ourselves.
Mm.
And if we will connect to that, if we will show up in our own truth, that we will be the person who sets us free.
Mm.
So
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, I fully agree. Yeah, absolutely. So, how can someone actually begin to rewire old patterns that keep them stuck in pain and guilt and self-doubt?
right. Well, one of the I mean the process I use is through repetition. So finding the truth, the whole truth, um in a society that teaches us to kind of squash or minimize
Mm.
our voice, our strengths, our whatever it is, keep it low. um I think that um the rewire is, I'm sorry, it's like this idea, this concept, and it's a little hard to drill down. The
Yeah.
rewire, I think, it's going to happen through finding the whole truth, getting to the bottom of it, and then repeating it.
Mm.
You're going to rewire through repetition, through practice. That's why it's important to have a daily practice. Like it's like exercise. It's the same thing, but it's emotional health exercise. And if you only meet yourself when you're in crisis, then you're always just trying to put out fires.
Mm.
If the only time you address your health is when you're sick, meaning you have a diagnosis or something like that, well, it's kind of like you're just putting fires out instead of maintaining your health. And so rewiring is going to happen through practice and repetition of whatever it is. And some people do that through yoga, through meditation. I wasn't able then. I can now, but I wasn't able for a long, long, long time to stop the rat race going on in my head enough to meditate, to get my mind quiet. But writing used another function, right? It was like moving my hand. You're transferring information. So you have to actually slow the thought process down to get them out. So once you have it, you're going to rewire. So, anyhow, the short answer is repetition.
Yeah.
Practice and repetition. Once you've found the truth.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people do struggle with actually accepting truth in the first place. So even, accepting their truth would be the first step. Because yeah, as we all know, acceptance is key before we can even forgive ourselves or others. Mm,
Right. And what's interesting, what I've seen and found is the thing that people have the hardest time accepting is their goodness.
interesting.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's like I had a mom come to a retreat because I don't just work with moms who've lost a child. So I'm working with the gamut of what women are dealing with, right? Which is like troubled teenagers. I mean, like when I say all of it, but this particular mom, her whole thing was, when her daughter would get into a low crisis, or maybe not little, but whatever, it would trigger her, the mother, and she would have to get herself away, like remove herself so she didn't do damage,
Yeah.
right? So instead of like screaming at her daughter or letting her own emotions come up, her unhealed stuff come up onto her daughter, she would separate herself. And in her mind, she was failing because she should be able to show up for her daughter. And I was like, the whole miss there, the thing she was missing was the beauty and the love that she was giving to this child. Like the most loving thing you can do in that scenario is remove yourself. But she wired that into failure because she wasn't, perfect. And I'm like, well, you are human too, with your own experiences, your own upbringing, your own healing journey. We're all healing together, including us with our children. And I mean, we'd love to have been 100% healed when they came in, but we weren't, and we could be, and it's unfair. So what I've seen over the years is the biggest thing that we're not giving to ourselves is the truth of the our goodness, of who we are and how we show up.
Mm,
And the fact that you even think you're failing because you're not showing up good enough makes you good enough.
mm,
Like it just does. And that is I found that's the biggest missing piece, the truth that we aren't giving ourselves, which then puts us in a shame spiral, in a failure spiral. And from that is a negative energy. So we're not going to improve if we just think we're shit.
exactly. Yeah. Oh my God, absolutely. Yeah, and it is. It's phenomenal. I guess it's obviously different for people who have done the work and they're practicing self-love and self-worth, but to actually get to that place it does take a bit of work. And so I guess it's hard, when you're obviously in that place, it's hard to then try to understand people who don't actually love themselves and who think so badly of themselves. It's like, why would you? Like, we are such beautiful souls placed on this planet Earth, and we all have our own USPs, our unique skills that we bring to the world. And it's about
Right.
embracing that. Yeah.
But it's kind of baffling the amount of people who of because I work with women, the amount of women who just don't, they don't love them, they don't understand. It's interesting, these are the same women who will show up in the healing space for the healing, and they don't get how miraculous that is because not everybody will.
Yeah.
I don't even think most people will. And so it's been interesting, and it helps me see where I'm still not loving myself, where I'm still not giving myself grace
Yeah.
for everything I came through, and then the mother that I was to
Yeah.
my children, even very imperfectly, was still really insanely done well given
Yeah.
where I came from.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I didn't give myself that credit because it wasn't good enough, it wasn't,
I get that.
I felt the enormity of how I was messing up, and
Yeah.
you can only change and grow as much as you can change and grow. And
Exactly. Mm.
so yeah, that's been eye opener for me, just how much we don't do it, and then how impactful and healing and rewiring it is when you learn to do it,
Wow.
when you learn to give yourself the love that you actually deserve for just showing up and being human.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Wow, I love that. And so I know that you do a lot of grief work, and grief, as we've already spoken about, it's not only loss, it's even grieving your previous identity, and grieving yeah, a loss of a relationship. And what other ways have you been helping people to manage grief?
Mm. Whew. Um, Gosh, I mean, there's so many ways. The first thing that comes to mind is me working with a client, a mom who lost her daughter also to suicide, like I lost mine, um, my son. And the first session we had together, so she learned the journaling the steps through I have an online course, and then I meet with you to make sure that it really transferred, like you really got the process.
Mm,
And on our first session, and this was, I'd had retreats, so it's different. You don't, it's just a different immersive experience. This was my first mom that I worked with online because she lives in Colorado. And her, what she said was, I'm realizing just from this that so much of my grief has nothing to do with the loss of my daughter.
yeah.
And that just kind of, I was like, I hadn't really put that together
Mm,
in that way. But what it boiled down to was her doubt as a mother, her feeling not good enough as a mother, her thinking she could have done more, whatever. That's rooted in her own identity, not anything to do, like the healing is about her to be able to carry the grief, and also I always say allow it to coexist with joy and peace, because you're not going to get rid of it.
mm,
But in order for her to do that, she had to look, she had to go within. It was her image of herself that was going to stop her from making peace with this loss and this grief and
mm.
her daughter's new existence, her. So that is probably the thing that sticks out to me the most, is how do we, that the healing through grief, or the allowing grief to be, the acceptance of the situation is very, very closely linked to your acceptance of yourself, and who you are and who you believe yourself to be before the loss.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I know that you always teach that peace and joy can actually coexist with loss. How did you come to that understanding in your own journey?
Oh, yeah. When when I first lost my son, I remember thinking, I have to find a way to be okay. Like,
Mm,
I get so angry. I actually did a TikTok video yesterday about this. I get so angry that our society dictates this belief that you can't be okay if you lose a child. Like,
yeah.
especially that one. I'm not speaking about any of the other stuff. I'm saying there's a message that is broadcasted loud and wide that if that happens to you, you will not be okay.
Mm,
And I just remember thinking, I'm I was born with a lot of grit and tenacity, and I remember thinking, oh, I'm gonna figure this out. I mean, like,
yeah.
and this was from a space of I can't breathe. I mean, it's literally, it wasn't like I was like this.
Mm,
It's been, we're coming up on 8 years. in a couple of days actually. But
Wow.
um, yeah, I just immediately said, I don't know how, but I will figure this out, you
Wow.
know, and I'll find I'm gonna find my way. I would just like whisper to myself all day long, like, you're okay, you're okay. And that just meant right in this 1 second, yeah, I'm okay, you're okay, you're breathing. Um, and so I just determined that I decided, and I say this too, it doesn't take strength, it takes willingness. It takes willingness to seek one good feeling, anything,
Yeah.
like anything. And then the next, and then the next, just one piece. I couldn't go like I can't breathe. I'm crying on the floor. I mean, it's really as bad as you can imagine or not imagine that it is. I couldn't go from there to laughing, but I could go from there to touching something or, sensory, to sitting outside and allowing myself to cry, but also take in it was like you can't go from here to here,
Mm,
but you can baby step your way. Um, and then one day you just feel an absence of heartache.
mm,
No, one moment, let me back up. Just in case someone's listening and they're in the new stages of grief, it might be a moment that you're not, can't catch your breath, and then the next, and then the next, and then you kind of string those together, just like any other healing, right? If you're learning, babies do this all the time. They're learning to walk, and they don't just start walking. They take a step and then they fall, and they take a step and fall. And I believe in that way you can learn to allow the peace and the joy,
yeah.
wherever you could find it, to coexist, not replace.
Yeah.
Um, because I do believe that people feel like they are sometimes leaving their loved one behind if they start to feel okay.
Mm,
Like I feel, you feel it so intensely in your tears and your grief and your sadness, that if you don't feel that
mm,
grief, that maybe you going to move on without them. And what I've learned and what I teach and what I've witnessed is that as you begin to feel better, you can look at the pictures and smile and laugh and talk about them more. And so in that way, you carry them forward instead of having to stay back stuck with them in the sadness. Because now my only attachment was going to my son was going to be crying.
wow.
I was like, I'm not buying it. I'm not believing it. And I'm definitely um, a believer that we get to create what we want. I mean, we're making it up anyway.
That is so true. Wow, I love that. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's hard. I think do you find with time though, you learn to accept it more?
So, yes, if that is your intention.
Mm, yeah.
So I watch people who are 10 years in and they are still crying every day
Wow.
because this is not a judgment. I
Mm,
my whole heart hurts for this pain that we live through. Um and if that is the case for someone, I'm so sad that they believe that that is the only way, or that that is their path for whatever reason. Um Yeah. So do you accept it? I think if you intend to accept it, I mean, I think at some level you have no choice. I mean, every day it's the same thing and you can't undo it. But I do believe that choosing to accept it, and choosing that you'll find your way through it, you're going to find peace. You're just going to be able to have both, instead of believing that the only way forward is staying in it, you
yeah.
know, it down in the pit of it. And I mean, it's not like I'm removed from it. There are days that I am like, WTF? Like,
Yeah.
how is this my life? Like, how did this happen? How am I here? And in those moments, it just comes. And so it's not like you get to a place where you don't cry anymore at all, or you're not sad. I mean, there are every milestone,
Mm,
there's something missing.
true. Yeah.
Everything, like every good thing has this other side to a part of our family isn't here. I mean, you don't escape that.
Mm, very.
But but it doesn't have to define every aspect of your life anymore. And then I was able to find new ways to bring him in, you know?
Beautiful.
So I believe they're here. I've changed a lot of my beliefs since this has happened, my spiritual beliefs. So yeah, I guess it just depends on what you decide, who you are, your whole structure and belief system. And that's very complex and unique for each person.
So touching. Wow, I love that. Yeah. So I guess, you talk to him daily.
Yeah, it's so funny. People ask me that, and I'm like, not really. And I'll tell you why. because
Why?
because we talked a lot when he was here, but it
Yeah.
was always about him.
Oh, is
Well,
it?
yeah, well, yeah, he was a writer, he was a creative, he was a really dynamic human, and he
Wow.
talked a lot, and so do I. But we didn't. He was only 22 when he left us, so it wasn't like it'd be different because my daughter and I, she's 33 now.
Mm,
She and I have a friendship now.
mm,
Quentin and I were more, it was definitely more mother son.
yeah.
So we were just talking about his stuff and helping him trying to figure out how to manage his life. And, it's all about him. So I don't, I don't find myself talking
No.
like that to
Mm,
him because it wasn't talking about me, process wise.
mm,
But, I feel certain things, I see certain things, and there are things like now I believe he is his I say this, I remember when he first passed and I was just pretty angry because I was just angry. Anger is my default when I'm really upset. And so, well, it was. And I remember somebody saying something about a bench, and I was like, no, he's not getting a bench. He should have stayed, like should have gave his own self a bench. Like I was so angry. And I feel like now he's probably laughing at me, like, there's my mom doing my mom stuff. But now I feel like his legacy, I feel him helping me create all these processes and this work I'm doing. Like he's in the legacy with me in strength and spirit and in encouragement and guidance, but not necessarily just, you know, talking to him often.
yeah.
Or some people's children they lose and they're like, oh, we were like besties. And I feel like I would have a different experience if it had been um a more mature relationship between the two of us.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. So let's talk about your retreats and how you help people, women.
um so so yeah. Wow. So we have two paths. One is for women who are dealing with anything. And this can be midlife, like who
Mm,
am I? What do I want for the rest of my life? Going through transitions, empty nesting, which I don't think we give enough credence to. I say that all the time. Divorce, all of it.
mm,
Special needs. Sometimes I'm working with women who have young adults that are struggling and trying to figure that out. So that path is called the Relax and Renew Retreat. All of them are 4 nights, and what we do is they get the journaling, my online program, before they come. Then they show up and we do some work in the
mm,
mornings. And it's all inclusive. It's really fun. It's easy. They just wake up, come get breakfast, and we start our sessions, and we do that. And then we do all kind of really fun things throughout the day. And then we have a sound bath healing and a restorative yoga. And then I bring a medium in, and those who want to do the medium work do it, and those who don't. But then we have just, the view is amazing. They get to face the ocean while we're working. from the big room in my house, and then we have a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun. We play games, we do seashell art, we do all these other things. So that's the one. And then and then we have the defying the gravity of grief for moms who've lost a child. And that one's just in the last couple of years. I didn't want to go in that direction. I think I just needed more healing before I moved in that path, but I kept saying, no, not doing that, not doing that. And then it just kept coming. It kept feeling very called to it. And that space is incredible. I mean, I've watched women in this other space just make connections and healings that this one lady said, I got more out of this than I got in 10 years of therapy. And I was like, I understand that her therapy set her up to receive what she received at that weekend. So I've seen some dynamic things from that other retreat, but this one with the moms, what people don't know, and I didn't even really realize, is as a mother, when you lose a child, we're caregivers. So everyone in our circle is also affected, right? So it's hard for you to just dump or feel everything, because as a nurturer, you're also going to feel their pain. And you also don't want to dump all of the enormity of this pain, this grief onto your loved ones, your best friends, whatever. And if they haven't lost a child, they really can't get it anyway. So these women show up at this retreat, and there are no need for icebreakers or get to know yous. It is walk in, and it's instant, like an exhale. And it's instant, like I can tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly of the situation that I'm in, of my child's death. A lot of times we don't get to talk about what happened. It's not safe for many reasons. And so these ladies, they just show up and they just let loose. They just unravel in a good way, in a way that's so safe, because they are not worried about you, because you know too. They're not like not worried. Like if I tell you the hardest part of what I've been through, you're not going to look at me like I have a disease, or like, because people don't know what to say and they freeze up, and then you feel like, oh, I said too much. And so that retreat is magical and medicine like I could not have imagined. And it was something, it's so wild. I've been running retreats for going on 7 years, however many, 7 or 8 years, and I didn't even know that I needed that. I had no idea that I did not have that space either. I mean, I have my journals and I know how to process, and I've really processed my grief, but I didn't know I needed the space to just openly tell the story without, I don't know, without having somebody look at me like they're sorry for me, you know? And so, yeah, I know that was a lot, but it's a profound experience to be in it, to witness all of it and to understand. It's like, I wish I had this millions of dollars so I could just, have them all the time, and just let people do it for free, like, because I would like to be in it that much. I love facilitating. I love being in the healing space with them. So anyhow, I you're muted.
Sorry. So yeah, I was going to ask, so what legacy of healing and hope do you hope that your son's memory inspires through your work?
Um, ooh, um, ooh. um, that one's hard. I really, I just, I hope, I would want for people, if I could give them something, it would be that the answers are already in you. If you will just show up for it.
Mm.
And I get so that would be it, that his legacy would come through in a way that would empower people to go within,
Yeah.
that the answer is not in the thing that you think it is, it's in you. And
Mm,
that all you have to do is access it. And I get the enormity of that. I get how difficult it is. The work is hard. And I always say the thing that's harder is not doing it,
mhm.
is
Yeah.
staying stuck, is getting to the end of your life and saying, I repeated the same year 80 times, you
Wow.
know? And maybe that's just my reality. Maybe that's just would be painful for me. I don't know. But yeah, that's what I would, that the answers you seek
Mm,
are inside of you. And one of my favorite quotes is, what you seek is seeking you, by Rumi. Your answers want to show up. What you want wants to come. The healing you want wants to be here for you. The freedom you want wants to express itself through you. The message you want to give, the thing you want to write, the places you want to go. It's all wanting. I feel like that's such a hard concept, but I also feel like that if that was actually Quentin's one of his favorite quotes. So I believe if he's probably like, yeah, mom, that's it. That's the one. That the answers are there, and just go. Just show up for you, and you'll find them,
yeah.
and you'll heal.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So where can my listeners find you?
Yeah. My website, mariecrews.com, Crews.
Yeah.
And on there, I offer a free journal jumpstart. I did a live workshop. And so they can fill out just to get that workshop if you're interested in journaling. But my website is probably the best place. I'm also on Facebook under my first and last name. My page is public. I do post a lot about my grief journey, do a lot of openness on there. And then TikTok is, I forget my TikTok handle off the top of my head. But yeah, on my website, there's all the retreat info. But if you look at Work With Me, that's where my writing program, and you can book a free consultation.
Beautiful.
I love to just meet with people and see if the work that I'm doing is a good fit for them.
Mm,
Love
lovely.
the conversations. I always walk away with something, whether they work with me or not. It's just so healing and so amazing. And so anybody can just sign up to have a consultation with me. So yeah.
Oh, lovely. Oh, thank you so much. It's been such an honor having you on the show, Marie. Thank you so much for sharing your vulnerability, your insights, and the magical work that you're doing at the moment to help so many women. I really, really honor that. Thank you.
Well, thank you for providing this space so that we can get the word out and touch some more lives. And, even, I think the listeners, whoever hears whatever, it might be the next little piece to their puzzle.
Yeah.
And, you know, you hear that one thing and they read this book and then this happens and this happens and now they have a whole new life.
Wow.
I'm a, yeah, I
Yeah.
believe that.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. It's true. Very true. Yeah. That's exactly what happened to me as well. So yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
love it.
It was just by listening to like a talk. At the time it was Tony Robbins, and then suddenly
Oh,
I went,
yeah.
yeah, I got exposed to his events, and then I learned about beliefs and values and needs, and I was like, whoa, yeah, this is so interesting. And that was it then. I just went on a crazy journey of personal growth.
That is, that's why I say, like, people were been asking me a little bit about these podcasts I'm doing. And I'm like, I don't know. I just felt called to do it. And I believe that what we put out comes back. And, if, and that I'm sure this, my vulnerability heals me as much as it's going to touch anybody else. But I since you mentioned a book, I wanted to show you this book right here is what started all of it for me,
Wow.
is The Artist's Way. And in the book she has you do this exercise. It was probably one of my first And I had already been in therapy, but it was one of my first things. And she has you do this exercise and you're looking for the critic in your life. And
Mm.
so I'm doing the exercise, doing the exercise, and I realize it's me.
Yeah.
And then I was like, huh, because I kind of parented myself. So I
Yeah.
realized it's me. Well,
Yeah.
if it's me, then I can learn to do it differently.
Uh,
You know, like well, how do we fix that? If it's your internal voice, which most of the time it is, or you've carried that from a parent or whatever, but it wasn't my parent, it was me. And
mm,
so anyway, that book, that's what opened this whole thing. And in that book, she talks about the daily pages, which is really where my journaling, my initial practice
mm,
started from that book,
uh,
which has led to all of this.
love that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And so, yeah, sadly, that's all we have time for
Yeah.
today.
Sure.
Hope everyone enjoyed the show. Please do reach out to Marie, connect with her, and go and read more about her on her website. I'll be dropping all the links in this episode. And again, such a pleasure having you on today. And yeah, my listeners, I look forward to seeing you in the next show. Stay blessed, my friends.